Hello YouTube and welcome to my channel. In today's episode I will be deploying a root certificate authority. This video is part of my series on building an enterprise network. If you're new to the channel, please do remember to subscribe, and if you like this video, please click the like button. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section below. Okay, so before we jump into deploying the root certificate authority, I wanted to go over the public key infrastructure. So in the last video, I deployed the HQPKI web server, which will host the certificates as well as the CRL files. And in the video before that, I created the PKI proxy, or the reverse proxy, which will be used to publish, which will be used for clients to connect to the internal web server. And as I said before, in this video, I will be deploying the root certificate authority. So without further ado, let's jump into that. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to clone the template here. So I'm going to do new VM from this template. I'm going to call this HQPKI, and I'm going to call it RCA, which is root certificate authority. Then I'm going to click next. I'm going to put it on our only host. Click next, and then click next. I am going to power it on, but I'm not going to customize this. This will be an offline root certificate authority, so it will not be a part of the domain. So I'm going to let this roll and be back once it's done. All right, so it looks like our server is finished being built and has powered on. So before I jump into it, I'm going to edit settings, and I will be adding a disk. This will also be 10 gigs and then provisioned. Let's not commit that space if we don't have to. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is run Sysprep. And I believe it is under Windows System 32 Sysprep. All right, so I am going to run Sysprep so that the system gets a new SID that's different from the template. I'm going to let this run and be back once it is completed. So I'm going to set the IP address to 10.0.31.21, class C of that mask, 10.0.31.1 for the default gateway, 10.0.31.11, 10.0.31.12 for the DNS. That has been set. I'm going to jump over to vCenter and change its network adapter to SECNET AAA. And no. Okay, so what I need to do right now is set up a DNS entry for the server. So I'm going to create an A record for HQPKI RCA. It's going to be 10.0.31.21. So now, hopefully, I should go into HQPKI RCA. Alright, looks get in. I'm going to log in with /administrator. And I am now able to log in through remote desktop. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to edit the group policies. There are a few policies I need to set. I'm going to jump under Windows settings, security settings, policy. Sorry, security option. Here's the guest. Actually, I guess I'll choose this one first. I'm going to change the administrator username to LMN and the guest to LGuest. I'm also going to text for logon, adding the banner. Here's text for the banner. Will be SECNET policy statement. So next up, I'm going to jump down to administrative templates, Windows components, BitLocker drive encryption. So I am going to encrypt the OS disk and the E drive. So we're going to jump into operating system disk. I'm going to change require additional authentication startup and that. So I'm going to allow BitLocker without a compatible TPM. Does require a password or a startup key. Okay. So I'm going to allow password complexity, 8 characters. Server is up. And I was able to log in, and here's our policy statement. I was able to log in with the admin instead of administrator as the default username. Server manager popping up at me. So before I deploy the certificate authority, I'm going to change host name. I change this to HQPKIRCA. Next. And I'm going to restart later because I have to restart once I start the drive encryption. So it's a feature. We're going to install the BitLocker drive encryption. Okay, so the BitLocker feature was installed. Server name was renamed. Now I'm hoping we can start the encryption process. So I'm going to right click, turn on BitLocker. All right, I'm going to click next. Next. All right, so I'm going to click next, and we're going to enter a password. All right, and I'm going to save the key to a file. I'm going to store this on a temporarily stored HQPKI.SECNetwork.org on the C drive. Next. So I'm going to encrypt the encrypt use space only. I'm going to use new encryption modes for the best. And we can continue. And we are going to reboot. And it should ask for the BitLocker password, which it does. So now that that is working, so ordinarily I would not encrypt operating system hard drives, but since this server will remain primarily offline, I figured better for security just to have it encrypted. So a lot of additional prep work before I can even install the certificate certification authority role. There is one more thing I want to do. And that is provision the E drive that we added in. Right. So it's the encryption process has begun. So that's good. I go into disk management. All right, so I'm going to bring the drive online, initialize the disk. Right click, do simple volume, next, 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 no label, finish. And good there, click that. I'm going to also turn on BitLocker disk, and I'm going to set a password. All right, and I'm going to save to file again, and I'm going to save this place, the HQ HQPDC1.secnetwork.org $. Log in my admin account. And click next, new encryption modes, next, and start encrypting. All right, that is complete. The operating system disk is nearly complete. So there is one more thing I want to do, and that is another quick reboot. And the reason is because when the system comes back up, I want the E drive to auto mount, so I will store the password. The disk encryption is meant to help protect the disk if it were mounted to an external system. Okay, so now that I am in, either one of two things will happen. It should pop up and ask me to unmount that drive. But if it does not, and get off manually. All right, so the drive is still encrypted. So I'm going to type in the password. And then I'm going to go to more options and automatically unlock this. Automatically unlock on this PC. So unlock. And so now the disk will auto unlock when this system is booted up. So I don't have to type in the password twice. Okay, so now the moment that we've been waiting for. The moment that I've been building towards. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up Notepad, and I'm going to go to C Windows/CAPolicy.INF. This file does not exist, so I'm going to create it. All right, so now I'm going to paste in this bit of configuration. Okay, so what we're gonna do is create a internal policy that will map to this OID. This is a default Microsoft OID. You should follow the process to obtain your own if you wish to. I'm going to set the policy to exist under PKI SECNetwork.org. Renewal key length is going to be 4096 bits. Periods, validity period is going to be years. The units is going to be 20 years. CRL is going to be the same, 20 years on CRL. I'm not going to load any templates, so we're good there. I'm going to save that, and now I can jump into the server manager. All right, I'm going to add a role. Next. This will be Active Directory certificate services. Next. And I will be doing the certification authority and clicking next. All. All right, so it looks like that is complete. So I will kick off. Before I do that, Okay, so I'm going to configure the post configuration for the certificate authority, certification authority. Right, so I'm going to click next. It's going to be a standalone CA, is a root CA. We're going to create a new private key. We're going to do 256. Not going to allow interaction of the private key. So next. Now I am going to change this to SECNET root CA. Such. Click next. For this, we're going to change it to 20 years. Click next. And I will be changing hash for the database and the logs to E. Next. Figure. And that is complete. Fun has begun. So what I'm going to do is bring up the certification authority. Oh, to edit this properties. And first thing I want to do is turn on all of these except the last. Actually, no, including the apply. And then go into extend. So right now these are the defaults, and I am going to move them entirely for the CDP and the AIA. So we're going to leave the first one. We're not going to publish this in Active Directory. The file. So I will be publishing this to HTTP PKI.SECNetwork.org / and I'm gonna name this SECNET-root-CA.CRL. And I'm going to click OK. And I am going to include in CRL certificate be used for Delta. We're not going to do Delta, so include the CDP extension in certificates. We're not going to restart yet. And do the same thing over here for the AIA. Move. Remove. Add HTTP PKI.SECNetwork.org /SECNET-root-CA.CRT. And this will be the path of the certificate. Click OK. And I am going to include this in the extensions of issue certificates and apply. Now we're going to restart. Okay. So what I'm going to do is publish the CRL. Grab it. So it will be on C drive, Windows System 32, cert serve, back too far, cert serve, cert enroll. These are the two files I want. I'm going to put them on sec. I'm sorry, I'm going to paste this on HQPKI web.SECNetwork.org. Let's do 10-0, 31, 21, 23. There we go. All right, and I'm going to log in as myself. All right, and I'm going to paste these files in to what I specify the path. So we have our certificate. And our CRL. So get rid of the download the CRT, the CRL. Okay. I'm going to make sure I have the right two files. I do. These right on the desktop. So what I'm going to do now is open up Group Policy Management console. Maximize that. And I'm going to modify the mandatory, I'm going to modify the default mandatory policy and add the root certificate in that policy. Okay, so we're going to go into computer configuration policy, Windows settings, security settings, then public key policies, then trusted root, import, certificate. So it still shows up as not trusted, but if I do a quick group policy update, good. Now for refresh, that certificate should be valid, and it is. A valid certificate, and the issuer statement should go straight where it's supposed to. It does. Okay, so I'm going to open up a notepad and paste this in. So here are some configuration settings for the certificate authority that I want to are. So first we're going to change the CRL period units to 20, which I believe it's already. Nope, it was 20. This should be here, so then we're going to add in a CRL overlap period of 3 weeks. We have a little bit of time to bring the server back up and generate a certificate and URL. All certificates that are generated will have a maximum validity of 10 years. Right. So now all those commands successful. What I'm going to do is restart the application authority tasks. Okay, so that's going to wrap up today's video on building a root certificate authority. In the next video, I will be deploying the enterprise root certificate, which will be the issuing certificate authority. If you like this video, please do click the like button. And if you want to see more content like this, please do subscribe. Thank you.